podcast, Funny Talk of Real People. I'm your host, Damien, Mr. Inappropriate. My team and crew and my love long, this is my peoples.
Because she's so fly.
Ty Escobar, what's going on?
Missy Monroe.
You hit operator.
Yeah, I did. I hit it. We live. We out there. What's going on, people? How y'all doing? As always, how's everybody's week been?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for asking.
It's been splendid.
You in your Pam Grier stage right now.
Yeah.
Doing that Pam Grier thing.
Was feeling kind of Afro-ish, that's all. Just
1976.
I was trying to relive the time I was born, you know. Even though I don't really remember what was happening then, but I'm trying.
Yo, before we even get into it, I got something to ask y'all. I want to see if y'all can get this. All right, so how many of y'all remember Good Times? Y'all remember Good Times out there?
I do.
All right, what was it? What was one of the lines from the song?
Scratching and surviving, good times hanging in.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's the line that I
But you
want
don't
to
know what are they saying?
Wait, so I want to know, do y'all know what that damn line was?
I think
Scratching
I know.
and surviving.
No.
Hanging in a what?
Hanging in a what?
I think it's hanging in a jungle.
No, it wasn't that.
What
it
is
wasn't
it?
that. It was actually hanging in a chow line.
That's right. I
Hanging
looked
in
that
a
up one time.
Hanging in a chow line. I'm saying to myself, you got to be
Hanging in a
absolutely dead ass, just retarded broke to be hanging in a chow. Hanging. Like, I'm not in the line just to be, getting my food. I'm hanging. I'm
Cause that's what you fellowship. When you down and out, all y'all just hang in the chow line because everybody got to eat.
Wow.
You're in that same position. You got to bond and rise.
What was one of your favorite shows from the 70s?
I was born in the 70s. I'm not
Okay,
sure.
so late 70s, early 80s.
Well, but you went back to those shows though.
I mean,
Yeah, because they were in
I'm not a
reruns.
TV person, but I like Good Times. But What's Happening was my
What's
show.
happening was
I
yours.
like what's
Okay.
happening, too.
Man, listen, I don't know.
He
Magnum
was born in
P.I., what,
94, I think. Wasn't he born in 94?
Yeah, you would, yeah.
I'm more
94.
I'm more
Oh my
Fresh.
God, my son's
Fresh
born in
Prince?
95.
I'm more Fresh Prince than
Okay, what was yours?
Well, actually, I did like Good Times. I like Good Times, The Jeffersons. I like Good Times. It was really depressing, but I liked it. I liked their little struggle, and
I liked Archie Bunker.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
I like that. And the reason I'm getting nostalgic and going back into the things that were kind of good in the times is because life has changed. As we went through the 80s, we went through the 90s, and now we're in the millennium, as they call
That's
it,
what
or
they
whatever.
call
And parenting during those times didn't come with a handbook. Not that they come with a handbook now, but they didn't come with a handbook, and we had to. Our parents and grandparents had to figure it out, whatever best suited the situation. And at no time was it always good. Or was it always good parenting? Was it always good decisions that they made? Was it the fact that they exposed us to things that they probably shouldn't have exposed us to at that time? So the subject that I'd like to talk about is, when do you get to a point in your life as an adult where you kind of forgive your parents for their mishaps, for the things that they didn't give you, for the things that they didn't tell you or didn't show you, because maybe perhaps they didn't know, and you became bitter and upset as you grew up as an adult, and you kind of were like, well, damn, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have this, or my parents didn't do this. When do you get over that?
I mean, that's definitely a question. I mean, ironically put, I basically said, when do you stop blaming your parents for your fuck ups? When do you when do you stop saying that your parents are the reasons why you can't do this or you can't do that?
I have a comment, if you don't mind. I don't blame your parents, but I am a little disheartened that I didn't grow up with Conrad Hilton, the Rockefeller, somebody like that being my granddaddy, because when I ride by all these palatial houses and stuff, and it's like a lot of old money where people inherited things, I don't blame you, because you can't help it. But I'm sad. So I don't blame them. That was off the subject, but I get hurt every day when I ride by these homes, and I wish they were my
It take a while though, you know what I mean? Like, I had a lot I had to get over too. Like my whole like parental dynamic was kind of on some other stuff.
A lot of people's parental dynamics is messed up, you know, especially people like myself that, you know, come from a predominantly hood area or, you know, from Pontiac, Michigan, and you got things that were going on in my life that my mother couldn't do, couldn't afford to do, still can't do as a mother. Like she's not, you know, the best grandmother in the world or no situation like that. But when do we stop saying it's her fault?
It's their fault,
It's
right?
their fault that, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm 39 years old now. I make my own decisions and I make my own
when you become
error.
an adult, and becoming an adult is an individual process because some people go through their whole lives still blaming their parents. So I don't think it's on an individual basis. Like you have to get to the point where you're like, okay, I think my parent did the best that they could, and some parents didn't. Some parents just gave up and said, forget it. I mean, they were working with what they could work with, and they didn't have the faculties, the strength, whatever it is. But I think it's just you as an individual have to realize, I can't keep blaming somebody else. My dad was not there. I mean, he was there financially, but he was not a good father. But I'm not blaming any choices that I've made in life on not having a good father. I did have a good mother, so that probably was the balance for me. And I think that's where it happens too. If you have one parent who is all the way to the left, but you do have a parent who's to the right, who tries to keep you structured, it's a little easier.
Well, you know, it's funny.
I had a grandmother.
I recognized late that my mom had good intentions. I'll tell you, I'll share a very monumental moment in my growing up where I was pissed because I would get like birthday money and my little cards for birthdays, little $5 or whatever, and she took my money. Now her mindset was, we need all the economical help we can get to put food on the table and keep these lights on. But you can't tell that to a 9-year-old and 10-year-old that you're taking that $5 to apply it to a bill because they don't get it.
Right.
And you know, I got to a teenager and a young adult where I was like, well, that wasn't my responsibility because you had me and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, as I got into my 30s, I started to recognize that, you know what? But the light stayed on because of the decisions that she made. Now, you know, later on, she was quite apologetic. I didn't really receive those apologies in the best way. Unfortunately, as that old saying goes, give people roses while they're here because you can't when they're gone. And they can't hear you tell them how much you love them or how much you appreciate them or you're sorry. I went through that when my mom passed, that I couldn't go back and tell her, I get it. I understand it because I'm now becoming you with my children and the decisions that I'm making. So it kind of was a really down period for me where I had to step up and really get mature.
So where do you're saying that you reached that point at 30 though. At 30 years old, you didn't reach that point until you were 30. This day and age, you know, you hear so many people blaming their parents for a lot of mistakes. I've even heard men say that the reason why a woman don't know how to treat them or to respect them is because they never had a father figure in their life. Is that really something that could be possibly true? Like, do you feel like because...
I don't think it's because of the father figure. I think it's because of, well, in just my personal opinion, I think that the bitterness of the female and not really working those issues out, they became, as you say, passed down to the kid. Because the kid was seeing the arguments, seeing the anger come out verbally, come out in actions.
Or maybe they didn't see anything at all. If there was no dad there, they didn't see.
Right.
No, you still saw your mama talk. That's why I tell people today, stop talking crazy in front of your kid about his dad.
Right.
You can't do that.
I wasn't necessarily touching base on as far as what the mother is doing in the household. I'm saying if there's not a man in the household, then the daughter is not seeing how a woman treats a man appropriately.
That's true, but you know what? You can also talk about those things. We didn't have. Look, in the 70s and 80s, I came up in the late 60s, 70s, 80s, and we didn't have these conversations. These conversations were not table talk. They were kind of swept under the rug. You figure it out. And the result of that is a generation that didn't know how to communicate properly, didn't know how to express their emotions and feelings. And then you get to a point where you are today, where you got that dude that flipped out because of that chick and did all crazy shit, or you got a bunch of people in the world that have this, I don't like to use the terminology, but bitterness, and then they're passing that along. They're passing it along.
I mean, it's like you said, dog, you figure it out, you feel me? And like going back from shows you brought up, like we ain't talking our households, but you kind of learn from TV, like I did as well. Like I said, my parental dynamic, like I chose to forgive them when I grew up, like, and I had a kid, you feel me? So like growing up, like my biological dad passed away, I ain't really know him like that. So then my stepfather was in my life since I was like 7. Like he was on some whole other shit in the streets, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Fucking his life up. But my mother, she been disabled my whole life, you feel me? So she couldn't really go out there and provide. So she kind of had to count on my stepdad. And he ain't bringing shit in the crib though. He was using it all up in the street, you feel me? So you don't really grow up, especially like a man, knowing how to be a man.
Well, let me ask you this. So when you
Uncle
say that,
Phil.
are you angry at that fact, or were you angry, or are you still angry?
Nah, I was angry for a long time. You feel me? Like me and my mother didn't get along for a long time. For one, she couldn't really like want mobile enough to control me like that. And two, I was so angry. You know what I'm saying?
You were acting out.
Yeah, I was in trouble. I was always in trouble. So
And
it's
that's actually
That's
a
basically
conversation.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, like,
basically.
like,
what-
you gotta let it go. Like I let it go when I had my daughter. You feel me? So it's like, and I always had my grandmother. Like my grandmother, she only showed me love. She never disciplined me. I think another reason me and my mother fell out because she gave me too much discipline.
Discipline.
And
And
not
she
enough
felt like she
love,
had
so she
to.
didn't
Yeah.
give a balance.
Exactly.
So it took you till you were a father to understand that you had to let go
Exactly.
of those things in order for you to be a good father to your children.
Absolutely.
Now,
I think that's for most people.
I just
You gotta
recently
figure it out.
had a conversation with my aunt, and my aunt was like my second mom. She raised me for a good portion of my childhood, along with my uncle and aunt, when my mom was out there being whatever. And like I said, I think I said it before, my mom went from being a dope fiend to being a pastor. And at her transitions, I didn't really get. I was like, come on, man, are you serious? Are you kidding me right now? You trying to? And I didn't understand the heaviness of not allowing a person to get out of that box that they were in and then move on to the next thing. So because in my 30s and starting toward my 40s, I had to release those things because it was really me holding me. It wasn't me holding somebody else. It was me holding me and not really realizing that I've outgrown that. You made your mistakes, and guess what? Now I got a child, 23 years old, 33 years old, that are doing the same thing to me. And I'm begging for their forgiveness, and I'm begging to let out of that hold. And it just dawned on me that, I guess that my mom was praying for those forgiveness moments herself. And I wish that she was here today. I wish she was here today for me to be able to say, look, I'm sorry for not allowing you to get away from what you were. And it's so important that folk out there, from all of us to y'all, to recognize that you gotta let those things go. You have to look at the new space that people are in. I wish that I could take care of my mom right now. Had that moment to bring groceries to her, fix a meal for her. So with that said, I called my aunt the other day and just told her, you know what? I hear you and my mom in my head as I'm making these transitions into my 50s, and I get it. And I want to make you proud of me, but I want you to also know that everything that you did wasn't in vain.
I think that the bigger part of what you just said is like when you have a mother or a father that doesn't go in the right paths and they put you in a sense in a harm way in a sense as far as how you're growing up and the things that they're doing. The ultimate person that has to give forgiveness and need forgiveness is you having to forgive yourself enough to say, you know what, I don't fault you for the things that you didn't know. Like I can't fault my mother for not being a good mother if she wasn't taught how to be a good mother.
Exactly.
I can't fault my father for being the father, that he was, because if he didn't understand it, my parents had me when they were 16 and 17. So they barely was taking care of themselves at the time. So I can't blame them. And one of our viewers said, at the end of the day, you definitely have to understand that you are responsible for your own actions, which is true, but you have to give forgiveness. Like you have to be able to, I can look at my mother and say, I don't necessarily hold you accountable for the things that I went through as a child.
Your parents got to forgive things too. Like we said, it's generational.
Yeah.
Like I thought my grandparents was amazing. You feel me? But my mother's aspect from their parents was different.
Right.
And then a lot of times, shit my daddy did, either one of them, like she kind of took that out on me too a lot, which is another reason why I kind of bounced around. And like, say my teenage years.
I've heard the connotation of because you look like your father.
I heard that shit a lot.
And you remind them of.
Right.
Now that's a mother that doesn't, there are some mothers out there,
like,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And really now more than ever, because there's so many younger people having children that are making their children suffer from the inadequacies of the other person. Because Junior looked just like, you know what I'm saying? Junior looked just like him, and he get on my nerves. Like I hate that. I never ever browbeat my children's father in front of my children. I never belittle them in front of my children because you don't do those things.
Absolutely.
I just want to look at some of the comments that people are saying. One guy, Rob, said that when you get older, when you become an adult and take care of your own household, at that moment you have to be responsible for your own actions, and your parents are not responsible for your
I seen 17 on there. I don't know about 17 though. I mean, as black males, a lot of times we kind of grown at 15 anyway. You feel me?
I don't think it's a specific age.
I'm gonna have to go against that. When you grow, when you don't have to say you grown, and when your perspective. When you recognize that you have a different perspective, when you start changing your perspective, then your growth is happening. And when your growth is happening, you have to absorb certain things that will enhance being mature.
So,
you can't tell me a 21-year-old is mature.
But you don't know what that 21-year-old has gone through.
No, I'm not saying in the respect of that they haven't gained some knowledge. But my grandmama used to always tell me, "You'll never be as grown as me because you ain't as old as me."
Now, I want to touch bases right here. This gentleman just said never. This guy just said never. You never. If you never ever stop blaming your parents for the things that you're going, you're never gonna prosper. You're never gonna get ahead in life. You're never going to get the things that you want for yourself. And God forbid if you have children, and please don't take this inappropriately, but how can you never forgive your parents for the things that they have put you through?
Let me give you that exercise on growth.
Oh, you was playing.
Let me give you.
Okay.
Let me give you exercise in growth. My dad, he was in the military. He was a provider financially, but he was verbally and physically abusive to my mom and others. I was too young to know, but my sister saw all of it. So he never really, when my mom and dad got divorced, he never really took care of us financially or financially or in a loving way, like a lot of girls have dads who love them. I never really had that kind of relationship. Now my dad got incarcerated about 12 or 13 years ago on some white collar stuff and still can't get out yet. But when he went in there, the woman who he was with, who he got with while he was married to my mom and had children and went on to take care of her and the other child or children, jumped ship. And who was there?
Your mom.
No, not my mom. My mom's remarried, honey. She's not there. Me. Me. somebody he did not really take care of. I had to contribute financially, take care of phone calls, take care of business, and I've had to do this for 12 or 13 years now. If I had a begrudging heart,
You
That
would
would
have done
never
those
happen.
things.
I
You
can't
would
help you,
have done
homie. You ain't done nothing for me, but
What's
that's
up,
not
sis?
who I am.
Well, you
So
know
you just
what?
have to,
That's actually
That's
commendable.
growth, and that's commendable
growth.
because not a lot of people can do that. I mean, for me, and we definitely don't like to put our personal business
Right.
on social media sometimes, but sometimes we just have to talk about it. Now, for me, my dad was not necessarily, the ideal dad when I was growing up. So it's harder for us now to build that bond and that relationship. I'm 39 years old, and I'm just now at the point where I say I love you on a continuous basis to my dad on the phone,
Yeah.
or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So, but do I blame him because of all the trials and tribulations that I've had with men? I did for a while. I felt like had he been the father that I needed him to be, then I would have been more acceptable at seeing the bullshit and more knowledgeable at seeing the things that were going to come my way.
Well, I didn't grow up with that.
I had to grow up. I had to put my drawers on the right way and realize that this isn't his fault. These are the things that I was accepting. These are the things that I was dealing with these men or these situations. And this wasn't my father's fault because he wasn't these men. You know what I'm saying? But
you saying your father and his man though a little bit? Like
no,
their characteristics?
I never really saw. No, I didn't. And
I don't
funny
think you
thing is,
intentionally do it.
I always would go completely against the pattern of my father, meaning I would date men that were totally opposite of my dad's character because I was fearful of not having that relationship that I needed to with my guy.
Now, it's bananas. I didn't grow up with a dad. And I guess in my experience, I chose to look upon men that I saw,
Thanks.
and I chose the ones that I thought were doing the right thing and the ones that didn't do the right thing, I guess.
I know you know, sis.
But ultimately, becoming the man that I am today has been a challenge. Like, I'm not perfect by any means. I've made thousands and thousands of mistakes, and I still probably will. My mindset, I was a womanizer. I didn't realize it when I was, but
Do you blame
no,
that?
I don't necessarily blame. I didn't miss my dad until I realized that I didn't have a guideline. But then I said to myself, well, you know what? I'm gonna be a better man, and with my, prowess and put my shoulders up. I really didn't become a better man. I was an asshole, ultimately, I had to get taken down a hell of a lot of pegs and put on my ass and become humble and realize that as a man, there are challenges that we go through. A lot of men aren't fit to deal with their emotions. They don't allow themselves to show emotion.
A lot of them start loving women too much. You feel me?
Yeah.
Cause that's our little way.
Well, you know what? I think it's a fact that we don't know what real love really is.
We're infatuated. A lot of us are infatuated with the idea of being
love.
in love,
Right.
or the idea of loving. A lot of us really, and I say this all the time, even though I'm 39 years old, at this age, I can tell you that the majority of my friends and family, I don't think that the majority of them have ever truly been in love. I think that they have been
In love with the idea
They've
of
been
it.
in love with the idea of having a family, in love with the idea of being connected with someone, having children, and feeling the pressure of being by themselves. So they get married so that they can carry this household together. But some of them have never really been in love. They just got connected because.
And then,
He said
and
he
then after
was.
time, it becomes normal.
It becomes a
What's
normal
up, Keith?
cycle. This Rob said he just found out at 42 years old that his father, or the man that he had been calling his father, isn't his father. Now, should he blame his mother for that? No, but he feels, he says that it was
But there's
her
a
past.
conversation that you should have.
But he said it's her past. He can't let it affect him now.
Right.
That would be a hard pill for me to swallow. Definitely.
Absolutely.
At
Well,
42,
listen, I don't mean to stop this flow because this is one of the greatest shows I think that we've ever put on. but we're coming to the closing time that we have to wrap it up. But I just like to say to all of y'all out there, from me personally, I pray that we all get better as human beings. I pray that we all get better as individuals in the compass of what we're going through. Everybody's life has different paths, but they kind of tie in, and it's a good thing that we're having these forums to have this continual conversation.
Yeah, you gotta heal and grow and not repeat. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's basically what it is.
Yeah, you do. And I think I encourage you all to just, if you are dealing with something in your life, or you're dealing with something that you may feel that is a fault of your mother or of your father, it's really time to look in the mirror and just realize that you're an adult now, and that the things that they did in their past is their past, and don't allow it to be your present or your future.
So with that said, I want to thank y'all very much for tuning in. Make sure you check us out on YouTube at YouTube Inappropriate TV1. That's our channel. All our shows are there. Make sure that you tune in this Thursday. We have another episode coming on at 8 o'clock. And every Tuesday, we go live. I don't care where we are. We're going to be in the bathtub. We're going to go live.
We're going live.
You know what I'm saying?
And remember, not all of our shows are always going to be funny. Sometimes we got to talk to, we have to talk about topics that people really need to talk about, or it may be something going on in our day that we want to talk about and inform others. So,
Absolutely.
But Mika, she's so fly.
Feel free to comment as well, y'all.
Yes, please
Y'all
do.
watching every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Post your comments on the live feeds, and then we're going to get with y'all.
I'm Damien, Mr. Inappropriate.
Again,
Mr. Monroe.
Mika, she's so fly.
937's Tiger Escobar.
All right.
Make sure y'all
See
tune
y'all.
in.
Bye.